Hey everyone, Nick O'Malley here with Matt Vautour and Andrew Callahan from MassLive for day one of Patriots training camp for 2019. Football is back. It's going to keep going until the end of the season, whatever, week 17 or the Super Bowl, somewhere between then. And we just finished up checking out the first day of open practice. Fans were out, sun was out, players were out. What were your thoughts from today?
Yeah, a little bit of a slow start. The first two practices are non-padded. Things really get going Saturday. Belichick said as much, and that's really when they're going to start evaluating guys. But we're already learning things. Like after the first few periods, danny-etling running with the wide receiver. So in case you don't know, danny-etling, second-year quarterback at LSU, was on the practice squad last year. Didn't contribute much, but he's a guy now with Jared Stidham aboard. Is going to have to do something new. So in minicamp, he was a punt protector. Now he's running with a wideout. Still threw a couple passes here today. But otherwise, secondary looked very strong. It was primarily passing and special teams. Again, non-padded, so they didn't really get into the kind of essence of football, but competitive day. And Tom Brady looked like Tom Brady, especially working with N'Keal Harry one-on-one.
It's important for a guy like Etling to take that approach, too. He's a guy, not a lot of chance to make it as a quarterback on this team. Obviously, he was a practice squad guy last year. You add Stidham. Hoyer's a guy that they trust. Hard to picture a role for Etling throwing the ball. So if he's athletic enough and capable enough to do something else, he's smart to at least put some film out there for him doing that whether he does it on this team or somewhere else, he's expanding his opportunities.
Yeah, his big highlight last year was that read option he took to the house last year where people were like, oh, danny-etling, check out his legs.
Yeah,
well, joke's on him, he's playing wide receiver now.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the athletic profile people, I mean, the most natural comparison around here would be like, oh, Julian Edelman, let's just say it. White guy, 7th-round pick, then changed positions coming into the NFL. He's not that quick,
right,
but he's a little bit bigger. I mentioned playing on special teams. So they go, we'll just try to see if we can find a role for you. And perhaps there is a position where it's like there's no singular name for it because they just do a lot of different things. And Taysom Hill down in New Orleans is probably the closest example. But, we'll see. It's day one. They might just go, this experiment isn't working after a couple of weeks for today. He was out there, tried to compete. Said, all right.
Other than the position change, who stood out for you guys today, be it a coach, player, offense, defense, rookie, veteran?
One player, one coach for me. J.C. Jackson, cornerback, was the best defender out there today. And again, it was primarily a passing day, so we're going to highlight the cornerbacks and the safeties. But he had multiple pass deflections. Stephon Gilmore wasn't targeted, but really liked what I saw from him. The coach is Drod Mayo. And, again, Drod Mayo, everyone knows him as the player. Hired as an assistant coach, steps in right away as a position coach, which you don't see typically. Right. They toil away for a couple years in anonymity as just an assistant in general. He's in coaching inside linebackers and calling plays. We saw this in minicamp. He did it again today when they're running the 11-on-11 periods. And his experience as a player is not only just beneficial, but how he conducted himself as a player, someone who we heard today from guys coming off the field, always gravitated towards it. You see that again here today. It's understanding the system and ability to communicate as a former captain and now someone who really knows the defense and is coaching.
I think John Jones is a guy that I think impressed a few people out there today. Made some plays defensively. That's a secondary that all of a sudden has a lot of healthy bodies and a chance to create a lot of competition.
A lot of attention at the wide receivers today because Julian Edelman was not here. He's dealing with that thumb injury that's going to keep him out for a few weeks. I think Maurice Harris has impressed a lot of people with the way he's just kind of jumped in and just kind of like felt like a natural inclusion. He's not like a guy like Dontrell Inman who always you have to really get going. Maurice Harris feels like he's kind of integrated naturally, and N'Keal Harry too feels like they're kind of ahead of the curve from where we see a lot of receivers trying to get in. Usually, you can kind of tell early on whether things are clicking for a receiver. I feel like those guys are, and some of the other guys have yet to really show all that too much.
Yeah, Maurice Harris looks very smooth, and he comes from a system in Washington, which is probably the closest that you would have to have the same influences that you have here in New England, which everyone talks about so difficult to play receiver, and that largely has to do with the playbook. The thing with Harris I'm going to look for is when they get the pads on, how does he look? Because that was a knock on him with the Redskins, who when he was a restricted free agent said, we don't want him anymore, which you go, okay, that's a little weird. He looks good here, but a little more difficulties with physicality. But, of course, as much as you can ask for on day one non-padded practice, he looked good. N'Keal Harry's still coming along. I'd put him a little bit behind Harris, but again, he's getting one-on-one time with Brady, and that's huge when you look at the circle of trust that they had. Gronk's gone. Edelman will be out the first 3 weeks. Who's going to work with Brady when they're doing kickoffs, when they're working on punt team? For him to be there, obviously they need their first-round pick to perform, but I think it's a huge step because that will accelerate whatever growth he's going to find in the next month or two.
Andrew, you got a story coming tomorrow, too, about the practice without Edelman today.
Yeah, there's a whole different vibe and a lot of different answers, which always makes the story for a little behind the curtain a little bit easier and more fun to write because you have different perspectives. But whether they were the cornerbacks or the receivers or even just defenders who are not lining up and seeing Edelman or chirping with him in practice, that it's a different vibe. But he was here today. He was in street clothes, just like Sony Michel, Damaris Thomas, guys on PUP or the non-football injury list. Two absences we haven't mentioned yet. Another big news from today. Michael Bennett and David Andrews. No idea where they are. Andrews was on the Patriots Instagram yesterday, so we know he's in the building. They canceled the press conference. Michael Bennett, your biggest addition from this offseason via trade with the Eagles, will be starting for this defense if healthy and available. Wasn't available today.
Got a question here from Luis Joshua. Lance Kendricks, new tight end that they signed very recently. Did you guys see him out there today?
I did. So he, looked fine, as much as you would expect. Guy signed off the street, veteran, played with the Rams and the Packers. He was with the first team during their walkthrough, but that was during goal line situations. So you need 3 tight ends. As of now, he's still in that 3rd or 4th string mix. A lot is being thrown at him right now, again, coming from an offense in Green Bay. Not very similar to what they're going to run here in New England, but when plays like those at the goal line that everyone runs are the same, you can plug him in. So that's what they're doing, easily working him in. But I wouldn't pass judgment on him until maybe the 2nd or 3rd preseason game.
Yeah, so heading down the road, today was first day of practice. What are you going to be looking forward to for the next week or so as things really start to get rolling?
I'm curious to see Jarrett Stidham. I'm curious to see is he a guy that's a future backup, or is he somebody that you could look at and say, in time, Tom Brady has to retire at some point, allegedly, and is he somebody that fits here and could be the guy somewhere down the road? And I think quarterback's always a position you focus on, notice that much more. I'll be curious to see how he does.
For me, the next 3 weeks, as long as Edelman out, it's going to be the new receivers. How is Brady gelling with them? I mean, we had 3 different 11-11 periods today. One of them wasn't so great with Brady. Again, it's going to happen in training camp, and he's got to develop the chemistry very quickly because, again, Edelman's not going to be available, and that'll help for Harry. It's better to have more reps for guys like him, and you mentioned Maurice Harris and Dontrell Inman. But how does that develop? Because if it doesn't, they might feel either we might need to make a trade and have to do so earlier than they did last season, or you wait on Damaris Thomas, who I mentioned is on PUP.
Or Josh Gordon, who may someday come back.
Yeah.
For me, it's going to be the 2018 lost draft class. Isaiah Wynn, Duke Dawson, Juwan Bentley. A lot of these guys who came in last year, and a lot of these guys who were really hurt and didn't really get a chance to play, we didn't really get a chance to see other than Sony Michel and Kayon Cross and an undrafted guy, J.C. Jackson, in the 2018 draft class because of so many injuries. I want to see whether or not they can turn around and can contribute this year.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, they've got 1st or 2nd year players. They're going to be counting on the major snaps at every single position except for quarterback, safety, defensive tackle, and interior of the offensive line. So you're basically talking about 20 positions there. So those are guys who are going to have to step up immediately, and there's just not any real tape on them.
Yeah. All right, so we'll keep an eye out. We'll be back tomorrow. Patriots practice 9:15-ish here at Gillette. Tickets free. Come on down if you want. Come watch with us. Well, you'll be sitting separate. But we'll have a coverage coming soon this afternoon, tomorrow, all throughout training camp. Thanks, folks, for tuning in, and we'll see y'all soon.
See you tomorrow.